Welcome back to another episode of Catching Up with Coach, which is a special because it's New Year's Eve, one, and sorry about that, because it's New Year's Eve for one, and I want to wish everybody a happy New Year. As those who are watching this or any other Raptors content, we have lots of content creators in Raptors Nation. I'm kind of diving into a little bit myself from an individual perspective. Um, but it's been quite a year if you're a Raptors fan. 2025. Um, so let's go back here. Let's go back to like January and February of last season. Where was this team at? Well, a few months prior, Masai Ujiri announced that rebuild was the path. And most people who know Masai know that he's not about a rebuild. He's about winning, going big game hunting for star players who typically don't want to be here as well. We had the thing with Fred VanVleet come out about Kawhi Leonard, how I'm here for a year and I'm out. And he was true to his word on that. We had Dame Lillard, who didn't really like how he was in trade rumors with Toronto a few years back. And OG punked him more or less, thinking that he was traded here. And he got traded to Milwaukee instead. And now we have Anthony Davis and trade rumors, and I can guarantee he don't want to come here. Going from the Lakers and Dallas to Canada, where it's cold. Not so much talking about the organization. I don't mean so much that, but it's a bit of a climate change for sure for those who are used to playing in warm weather climates. And someone like Anthony Davis, who's been used to being in like top 3 or 4 markets in the league, coming to Toronto, I'm sure something he would not want. He'd probably feel like he's back in the Pelicans again. But you know what? We don't need him. I don't want him. I don't want street clothes. I don't want injury. We got enough injuries with big guys as it is. We got Pirtle right now with a bad back. And we don't know this is going to be a lingering issue throughout the year. It probably will be. But anyway, back to 2025. Just to refresh your memory, the Raptors were really bad last year going into January. As bad of a season as it was looking real dire straits around the holiday season into January. We knew that this was going to be a rebuild year. Darko called it year 1. I say BS. It was year 2 because year 1 was the year you showed up. Year 1 was when you got Quickly and Barrett and some of those guys. You drafted Grady Dick. That's got to be worth something. Year 1 or year 2, what I call last season, was let's see what this looks like. And there were guys being sat all the time for various reasons. They were letting guys sit extendedly who probably weren't as hurt as what they actually were. But that was part of the process of trying to tank, which people who know me or who have heard me speak know that I cannot stand tanking. I think it's such a slap in the face to the players in their prime. Even the year that we went to Tampa, what people may not remember is we actually were in a playoff spot. We were top 4, top 5. Chris Finch left as assistant coach, went to Minnesota. And then we were doing really well. And then we just started sitting guys. And I get it was a throwaway year, and it led to you eventually getting the 4th overall pick and getting Scotty Barnes. But you threw away Fred VanVleet year. You threw away an OG Anunoby year. You threw away a Pascal Siakam year. And I didn't like that. I just think it's very unfair to the players. You play to win. I understand everybody does the tanking thing to get the high draft pick. But one thing that this new lottery process has taught us, you can make the play-in tournament and get the 1st overall pick. Ask Atlanta 2 years ago. Ask Dallas last year. Make the play-in, and you've got a shot at getting the number 1 pick. So you don't have to tank and be the Philadelphia 76ers of 2013 or the Charlotte Hornets of 2012 or the Detroit Pistons of years past, very recent years past. You don't have to do that or be the Charlotte Hornets as of recent. You can compete, try to get in the playoffs, and still get in the top three. Ask the Dallas Mavericks, ask the San Antonio Spurs. So, 2025, we were on our trajectory of losing. And then this 5 or 6 game winning streak came up, led by who? One Chris Boucher. He was playing out of his mind. He was shooting out of this world. The Raptors were winning games over and over and over. They were very close to a play-in spot. And it seemed that maybe things were going to change. They're going to try to compete for it. And then out of nowhere, we come back home, had a home game against the Chicago Bulls. And what happened? Chris Boucher doesn't play. We want to see more of Jacoby, Darko said. And I cannot tell you how much that irritated me to no end, because it wasn't fair to Chris Boucher the way that they treated him after that. As a fan watching the game, I felt awful for him. And I'm not his biggest fan. I don't like his defense, but I appreciate his effort each and every single game. It's guys like him who help create a culture of work ethic, of how to train, of how to work on the court, of how to rebound and box out and just show tremendous effort. And then Darko and staff sat him. And the rest is history. Had you been losing a lot up to that point, maybe it's a different story. But you were kind of just treading water a little bit, and then you had that 6-game winning streak, and you're close to the play-in tournament, and then you pull the rug right out from under him by sitting Chris Boucher, and the team lost. And the losses began to pile up, and people started to sit. It was really frustrating as someone who's coached many levels. I'm sure Darko was told to do that by Masai and Bobby, because that was the plan this year, was to be bad. But I just felt bad too for people who buy tickets. We don't buy tickets to see a team lose. Losing is okay when you're competing, in which they kind of were that first month of the year. Because let's remember, even though this would have been back in 2024, technically, Quickly was out, Scotty was out, Grady and RJ and Pirtle were kind of leading the charge, picking up a few wins here and there. And it was really fun basketball to watch. Grady Dick's never really been the same since then. Pirtle, kind of the same. Pirtle had a pretty good year last year, and he basically sat the last month and a half of the year, and now he's got back issues. So that was really frustrating as a fan to watch this tanking, to watch how bad it got. And they didn't even tank properly. You did all that work to lose, and you still won games with Orlando Robinson and AJ Lawson. Not even with your main guys. Think about that for a second. You were a bottom 5 defense last year in 2025, and you finished the year in the top 16 in defense with guys who were never going to be on the team. You couldn't even tank right. And that which led to the 7th best lottery odds, coming up with the 9th pick overall. And the 9th pick overall, because I remember watching the draft with some friends, shout out to Hopeful and Beyond and the Reese Report. We were sitting in the bar, 9th pick comes along, Malawach is still on the board, boom, CMB gets selected, which was interesting because we were doing some draft coverage. We're just like, we don't want this guy. It's not him. I want to be clear about that. It's not him. It's his game that he has and the fit on the roster. Now, at the time of the draft, obviously I did not like it. I didn't see how you maximize the asset. You already have 3 of those assets on the team because this is a 9th pick overall. This isn't like a 19th pick. I understand it then. But with a 9th pick, I'm one I like to swing for the fence. And with Cedric Coward on the board, which was the guy that I wanted, and I'm watching him right now put up big time numbers, and he's top 3 or 4 in the rookie race behind Cooper Flagg and Con Knipple. It was tough watching him get passed off by other teams, particularly the Raptors, because if it's best player available, I thought he was the best player available. If you were swinging for size, well, Malawach or Asa Newell was on the board, but we took CMB. And I had said at the time, because I filmed with Hopeful, great defender. Love his feel for the game, and he does have great feel. But I worried about the size and the lack of shooting, the lack of offensive ability that this team so desperately needed. Coming into the year, I like him. I think he's a good role player. Do you take a role player with the 9th overall pick? That's for people to debate. Me, I like swinging for the fence. I liked what Isaiah Thomas did in 97. He took a young kid, 17-year-old kid out of Florida, and Tracy McGrady. I like some of that. I think some of the, not a T-Mac talent, but great talents were on the board. And you already had a Scotty. You already had a Mobo. So going with CMB was just something that I just didn't quite understand. Is he a good player? Yes, he is. He could be potentially the best defender on this team in time. Moves his feet really well. Great hands. Nose for the ball. He actually knows his role very well. I just want to swing for the fence a bit more. That was all. That was what I wanted. So that was a little bit of 2025. And we also got this guy named Brandon Ingram in 2025. The so-called rebuild that Masai Ujiri wanted lasted about three and a half months before we ended up trading for Brandon Ingram. And he's like, nah, I don't like this rebuild thing. Let's go try and win. And to his credit, I appreciate that. It's not easy getting guys like Ingram here in Toronto. Yes, we're better off than we were 10 years ago, or we're better off than we were 15 years ago or even 20 years ago. Probably because of the prior decade and the championship. Still hard to get guys in Canada. They like their money. They don't like to pay taxes. What do we do here in Canada? Pay a lot of taxes. And then you got to pay in the U.S. as well. So getting Brandon Ingram was a bit of a shock to a lot of people. It didn't make sense. I remember Josh Lewenberg tweeting, what are we doing here? I thought this was a rebuild. And to their credit, yeah, it was a little bit confusing. But Masai went for it. It was his home run trade. It was the similar one that Brian Colangelo tried to make with Rudy Gay to save his job. Didn't work. Same thing with Masai. Didn't work. Now, the situations are a little different with apples and oranges. Masai obviously had a bigger track record here than Colangelo did. But we also had lost Masai in 2025. Mainly, I think some of that was just due to ownership change. Not wanting to work for Ed Rogers. I don't blame him. We heard quite a bit that came out about that. And I see Masai's point, and I think his time just ran out too. The team was not very good the last few years. There was a lot of bad decisions that were made. A lot of questionable signings, a lot of questionable trades, a lot of given up draft picks. We had scandals, gambling scandals. When you're in that job, the buck kind of does stop with you on that. And then we have Bobby Webster. So it's not like it's a big shift in management philosophy, I'm assuming. But we have a new guy at the helm. They want to give him a chance. They even promoted him to president. Remember, Keith Pelley came out and said, we're going to have a new president of Raptors basketball ops. Month and a half later, nah, we're going to keep Bobby where he's at. He's going to be GM. Give him a try. Okay, save money. I get it. I wanted Grant Hill at the time. someone with notoriety, someone who had experience in USA basketball, someone who probably could have helped to get stars here. That would have been pretty good. There was a time about 25 years ago, Raptors had a chance to get Dr. J. Vince wanted him. Didn't happen. We got Rob Babcock instead. Those of you who are old enough, see how that turned out. So I'm okay with Bobby being, in charge. There is something about keeping stability, within your front office instead of doing a complete overhaul, even though I think that's what they needed at the time. But they're giving them a chance. They kind of went back on their word on not hiring a president of basketball ops, but they are off to a good start in 2025. So what happened since then now? We've come into a year in 2025. The team was 12-5 before RJ Barrett went down. They were top 10 defense, top 10 offense. It was looking really good. And then he goes down, and then we lose a bunch of games in a row. We become one of the worst offenses when he's out. But we remain a top 10 defense, which is very interesting. Darko did say we want to be very good on defense. I got to say, so far they have been. The numbers show it. We've had some real stinkers of games, giving up almost 140 to Washington, only scoring 81 against Brooklyn. Like, these are two teams that aren't going anywhere. They're literally trying to trade Michael Porter Jr. as I speak. Try to get some draft picks and young players, I'm sure, back for him, which I understand. They're in a complete rebuild. So it's been a little bit of a mixed bag, but more on the positive. No doubt. I mean, I think we are 20-14 right now. I'd have to double check. Let's just say we are 20-14 going into the new year. We have a chance to maybe have 21 wins. If you told me that before the year started, I would have been like, okay, we're off to a pretty good start. We're probably around the 6th seed or something like that. And we are now 4th in the East. And we've kind of hovered 3rd, 4th, 5th. I think as low as we were was 6th when we were on that big losing streak. But there's nobody in the East right now during 2025 that's really taking off. I like the Pistons, but again, I'm not sold on them. They're not the Thunder. Pistons are pretty good, but this is a team that can be beaten by Cleveland or the Knicks or us. So, or the Magic. Magic could beat them. The East is a bit more wide open than I thought it was going to be, but that's been part of 2025. We've seen Scotty have a 25 rebound game just a few days ago of this recording. Something this team has not seen in about 10 years or close to 10 years with Bismack Biyombo. The only difference is, I mentioned earlier, Scotty has way more responsibilities than Bismack Biyombo did. Biyombo had, his responsibility was bring energy, go rebound, try to protect the rim, put back garbage baskets. Scotty's, typically guarding the best player on the floor. In that case, he's guarding the bigs because we didn't have Pirtle at the time. He was out. We didn't have CMB at the time. He is responsible, big part of the offense, connecting piece, trying to get his own baskets. And he was just bringing a lot of effort that game. Mind you, he was the tallest person on the floor because they played Draymond Green, who's about 6'6". If Golden State was a bigger team, like when we played Orlando, for example, he's probably not getting 25 rebounds. But I still credit him for doing that and then suiting up the next day against the Magic and still grabbing a double-double. That's impressive. That's really good. So 2025 for the Raptors in this particular season has been a good start. Potentially 21-14 if they win tonight against Denver, and I'm going to book it. I'm saying they are. Denver's missing 4 starters, including the best center in the league and the best center of the last maybe 10 years in Nikola Jokic. And I think we're going to win tonight. We don't have Pirtle, but I'm hoping to see more of Mo Bamba tonight. I hope they give him a chance. I keep hearing about Darko, the developmental coach. Who's developed under his tutelage? I'm not trying to be smart on that because the version I see of Scotty is somewhat similar with Nurse. Scotty's a little bit better, but that comes with time. That comes with age and maturity, skill work with anybody. Um, Grady Dick, well, Darko's kind of hurt Grady Dick a little bit so far this year. Jacoby's a maybe. He's getting time, and he's taking advantage of his time. We still need to see more of these developmental gains from our players. That's mainly what I'm trying to say, and I'm not trying to be smart. Darko the other night against Orlando, kudos to him. He sat quickly, who was not playing well, and he went with a hot hand. He went with performance over money. Jamal Shed was playing well. He stuck with him. I'd have done the same thing. Sometimes it's not easy because there's politics involved, but Jamal Shed was playing well that game. Grady started off the first half playing really well, didn't play much in the second half. CMB was really good. Lots of energy, lots of second and third opportunities to give his team on offense with all the rebounds. And again, I know he's kind of at a disadvantage, like 6'6", but he's got a big body. My coach used to say, hard to move the big body, and it is. That's why it's hard to move a guy like Jokic or Embiid. Even though CMB is much shorter than they are, he's still a stocky guy. And you get positioned inside in the paint, you kind of sit your butt down in the box out position, it's tough to move. So I was really impressed with his efforts. And Jacoby Walter, man, he's making the most of his time right now. He's getting opportunity and he's taking advantage of it. Shooting around 40% from three this year. He ain't scared. Grady Dick has got to get up to 36%. He is at like 31% from three. I worry for Grady if he does not get up to there. How can you play him? His defense is a little better this year, but you didn't bring in Grady Dick. You didn't draft him to shoot 31% from three. Not someone in college who shot over 40%. He was too good. We saw highlights last year where he was very good that first month of the year where he was like second in sophomore scoring. I think he was behind Chet Holmgren. So this whole Grady situation is going to get interesting over the next month or so, especially as this team has to get under the cap. Which leads me into my next point. Final point, New Year's resolution. Since we've talked about 2025 and how crazy it was last season, kind of going into this season, it's still a bit of a mixed bag, but for the most part, it's been positive. New Year's resolutions. My New Year's resolutions, maybe that's it for this team. One, got to get healthy. Got to get Pirtle back. See if you can try to go with the gauntlet of the schedule that is coming up when you go to the West Coast and you play OKC and you play Denver and you play some of these teams. If you're healthy, go and see what you're made of. We've had a lot of wins this year, and some people might not like what I have to say, but a lot of wins this year have come from teams who have been hurt. And I get it, you only play who's in front of you. But eventually teams are going to get healthy. And I think we're getting healthier with RJ back, with CMB back. Now you got to get Pirtle back. So my New Year's resolution is let's get healthy. That gives you your best chance to compete for a top 4 seed in the East, which is something I did not see. And I don't know if I still see it. I think at best, maybe they can get in the 6th how this all unfolds because the schedule does get more tougher, especially in that West Coast trip. But to give you the best chance, you have to get healthy. Number 2, I hope, and this is maybe is more me of a coach and someone who's done a little bit of recruiting in the past, to give Mo Bamba a chance. I get it, he's bounced around. I know there's been some questions on work ethic, maybe processing a game. I don't like using that processing, but I get kind of what people are saying. We haven't had quite the physical specimen athlete like Mo Bamba in a very long time. I don't know really if we have. Keon Clark was a big time athlete, but he didn't quite have the potential offensive skills that Bamba had. And that was part of basketball back then. He was a rim runner, lob threat, block shots, stuff like that. I think with Bamba, he's got more upside. I've always liked him. Saw some of those old games with Orlando. I'm like, this kid's got some talent. He had a year in Orlando. What was his best year? I think he was like 10 points, 6 rebounds, and shot 38% from three. I think that's in there still. And if the Raptors and Darko and staff can kind of capture that again to give him some consistent minutes, you could find a diamond in the rough. I'm not asking him to start. I'm asking him to be a rotation piece. I think that's more than fair to ask. Can he give me solid 15 to 18 minutes a night? Because I'll tell you right now, I think he's more talented than Pirtle and Mamu, what he could potentially offer if you ever were to unlock him. I know there's been reasons why it hasn't worked out. He's bounced around the league. Nobody just gives up on a 7-foot talent like him with a 7'10" wingspan who can shoot threes for no reason. But I challenge Darko and staff. You pride yourself on developing players. Try it with him. I look at Mo Bamba, me from a coach, I'm just like, man, I'd love to work with someone like him. I'd love to give him a chance to play. I get it's about wins at the end of the day. I'm not saying put him on at crunch time. I don't mean that. Get him on the floor when you need some size. Because here's going to be the problem. If you continue to play Scotty Barnes at center, you are more likely to put him in bad positions to get hurt. Period. You lose Scotty, you're in trouble. You can't have him guarding Jokic out there. You can't have him guarding Embiid. You can't have him guarding Rudy Gobert. You can't have him guarding Hartenstein or Chet. This is why you need big guys. This is why you need to move on from that stupid 6'9" vision, which I get in theory, but it does not work because all you have to do is run into one 7-footer who can play the game of basketball, and then you're screwed. Go back and look at the tape in the playoffs a few years back. We played Philadelphia, and you had Precious Achiuwa or Siakam guarding Joel Embiid. Like, give me a break. So I hope that they give Bamba a chance. Mamu and Bamba offer the first kind of stretch 5 bigs that we've had in a long time, since like Marcus Gasol and Serge Ibaka. So that would be my New Year's resolution. Get healthy. Let's see what Bamba can give us. Vote for Scotty and Ingram for All-Star, especially Scotty. Not even in the top 20. Like Scotty, don't like Scotty, doesn't matter at this point. I was so disappointed in the team last year for not promoting RJ Barrett when he led the team in scoring. Let's get this right. Let's promote the both of them. Let's promote Ingram. Let's promote Scotty. Let's get him to the All-Star game. I think we did that for years with Lowry and DeRozan. I get it. This is not that team per se, but we got to start somewhere. We got to start with this new era of Raptor basketball. So that's my New Year's resolution. And obviously, I like to make the playoffs. Who doesn't want to make the playoffs? That'd be a great stepping stone for this team. So, okay. Thank you, everyone. Please take care. I hope you enjoy this video, and I'll be seeing you in the new year. Cheers.